was taking place. Yes.
Absolutely, Brian. Please do stay on with us. I want to go across now to Manan Dwivedi again. Sir, how are you looking at this verdict that has now been given out by the ICT, death sentence and life sentence on one charge?
I would just like to contend here is that whenever the deep state of a country or deep state of other greater powers like China, Pakistan and America, as they seem to have seemingly taken over the political, social, diplomatic and military aspects of Bangladesh. So in that kind of a sense, I don't think much of a credibility can be attached to the verdict which has come out. Now, Sheikh Hasina did not intend to compromise with Pakistan, or she did not intend to compromise with China. And she has a more than a hanky-dory relationship with New Delhi and with Raisina Hill. So she had to abdicate. She was removed from the seat of powers. But definitely, as I would gather from the reports which we have seen, it was considered that Sheikh Hasina or at least her political party might return against Khalida Zia, and some sort of a political maneuver and a real-time transparent democratic process might ensue in Bangladesh. But that was not to happen because the deep state of President Joe Biden, deep state of Pakistan and China have been found to be more powerful. So, if we go back into the history, just a couple of years back, or let's say 5 years back, what we are going to find is that the enclave problem, the 24th Pargana problem was completely solved by the Raisina Hill and Sheikh Hasina, wherein India and Bangladesh exchanged the citizens also, and there was some kind of a compromise on the Parganas or the districts which were the bone of contention between India and Bangladesh at that point of time. So, I personally feel that the entire haste, it's a kind of a political coup or a political haste which was not happy with the closeness and the camaraderie that Dhaka was having with New Delhi. So the things had come to a passe as far as more powerful actors in the global polity are concerned. So Sheikh Hasina had to leave. And I personally feel that a complete banning or a complete execution order of Sheikh Hasina was very much in the offing, because the interim government seems to be siding with China and Pakistan and generally with the hidden actors of the international polity. That way I would look at it.
Absolutely, sir. Please do stay on with us. We have some more information on this. Now, life sentence to Hasina has been given on 3 charges. Remember, viewers, that she has been convicted on 5 counts, and out of those 5 counts on 3 charges, she has been given a life sentence. I want to go across now back to my colleague Brian Thomas for more details on this. Brian, we are now learning that life sentence for Sheikh Hasina on 3 counts. All right, we'll try to reconnect over there with Brian Thomas. But remember that there are 5 counts over there against Sheikh Hasina that the ICT has been dealing this entire trial in. They have been charged with murder, attempted murder and torture. There are also charge sheets that states that Hasina actually incited armed men associated with the police and with the Awami League to attack civilians, encouraged and failed to prevent violence. In fact, in more breaking news coming in, order to seize all of Hasina's properties. The court has found Sheikh Hasina guilty of inciting and ordering murder. It also ordered the seizure of all her properties in Bangladesh belonging to Hasina and former Home Minister Kamal. So now we know that the ICT has also ordered seizure of all the properties of Sheikh Hasina and also the other accused. Remember, we introduced to you that there have been 3 other people who have been accused along with Sheikh Hasina. So there is Kamal, whose assets will also be seized. So, Manan Dwivedi sir, we are time and again looking at how volatile the situation now it will be, because some people say that it will only go worse for Bangladesh from here on out, given that this verdict was against Sheikh Hasina.
First of all, I would like to raise questions about it, because I can very conveniently and confidently do it, as we are not talking about the New Delhi Supreme Court. I personally feel that more than questions, some queries and protests need to be posited in the place, in the scenario, because I think the legitimacy and the acceptability of the judiciary, which has labeled these prosecutions or targeted Sheikh Hasina, can be brought into the limelight. I personally feel that there happens to be a kind of a backlash against India, and it is very much a part of the backlash against Sheikh Hasina and the political party, because India and Bangladesh were going very strong as co-partners, though it was interspersed by very insignificant incidents on the borders and the riverine terrains of both the countries. I personally feel that we have to go beyond Bangladesh domestic policy. We have to move beyond the India-Bangladesh bilateral relationship system also, and we need to look at the deeper state, which is largely involved. That is the Pakistani hand in the insurgency in northeastern India is very much known, and the Chinese connivance is also very much known. And one more issue that I would like to bring to the fore here is that certain Bangladeshi nationals, or to call them terrorists, they have been caught operating in Pakistan, wherein Pakistan itself, though I agree that Bangladesh is in an anarchic state of affairs, it is in a kind of a quandary, and the same kind of a quandary exists for Pakistan also, wherein as far as TTP is concerned, some of the Bangladeshi citizens as terrorists have entered the portals of TTP, and Pakistan itself is raising this voice and trying to bring about an anti-India sentiment as far as the Baluchi revolt against Pakistan and the TTP and the Talibani action against Pakistan is concerned. So I personally feel we need to go beyond the bilateral relationship between India and Bangladesh, and between at the regional South Asian level too, because the SARC has also become nearly defunct, and we can concentrate upon the fact that the larger money funding and technological assistance of terrorists, they have played a role as far as deteriorating the relationships between India and Bangladesh is concerned. So I personally feel that a wait and watch approach by India would be very nice, because if we go into the legalese of extradition, which Mohammed Yunus had talked about around 7 to 8 months back, India is completely, the Raisina Isle is completely at a legal freedom not to extradite Sheikh Hasina and let her stay for as long as her own self and security is secure in India and in Bangladesh. That is how I look at it. It's a mixed bag from my side of the argument, ma'am.
Sir, but then if you say that India should approach, look at this with a long stay, look at it from a wait and watch approach. Going forward, we have seen that the Yunus-led government has been stating that they will bring in reforms, and only then will they conduct elections in Bangladesh. We also have been seeing that under the Yunus government, the ties between India and Bangladesh have been deteriorating. So given that aspect, if India only keeps waiting and watching, if the situation deteriorates further, then what will happen? Because this is a neighbor that we are sharing a very long border with, not just naval but land and air as well. So it will go, the situation might just go out of hand, because we are seeing that now Sheikh Hasina has been given this death sentence verdict. So obviously the protests that have been going on by the Awami League and the others will escalate further.
I would opine here that you are generally talking about a kind, you are insinuating, ma'am, and you are talking about a regime change. So if India undertakes military action, let it be very blatant and very clear about it, very blunt about it. That is what you are hinting at, maybe, that India can initiate some military action against Muhammad Yunus or the Bangladeshi denomination, because the conditions which were there in 1971, they forced the Indira Gandhi regime to help the Mukti Bahini, and it was General Aurora who finally negotiated with great alacrity and with great diplomatic skill with General Niazi. And despite the Pakistanis having lots of soldiers, 90,000 soldiers in Dhaka, and despite of the fact that the Pakistanis had the Rasad, had the arsenal and had the resources at that point of time, India was able to pip the Pakistanis to the post, and an independent nation emerged. So if we go to that kind of an extremity, if that kind of a what do you call, fin the seagull kind of a condition, matlab, that kind of a extreme condition, that I think, I personally feel, and now I would not hesitate to talk about it, that an Indian intervention in Bangladesh and in the context of the interim regime of Muhammad Yunus, that can be contemplated. Now, how much our diplomats and Manini Pradhan Mantri PM Narendra Modi thinks about it, that is beyond my knowledge. But maybe India, if it has to grow as a global power, then I think, apart from commenting and statements by the MEA personages, we need to take some action. We need to indulge ourselves in some kind of an exercise, not exactly a military intervention, but some kind of a diplomatic and sanctioning which can take place against Mohammad Yunus and his entire entourage. That's how I look at it, ma'am.
Sir, also how do you look at the current situation in Bangladesh? Because we have been talking about the Muhammad Yunus interim government. We have been seeing a lot of changes that are coming in place, because the Yunus government had promised reforms. So we saw a lot of changes coming into place. There was this entire controversy over music teachers and physical education teachers, and we saw that protests were also starting when that entire announcement was made by the Yunus government. But currently we are also seeing that Yunus government has warned all the protesters that they will also shoot at sight if the protests turn violent. So how do you see this present situation as well?
Feel that there happens to be, I once again repeat my argument, that there happens to be an anarchic state of affairs in Bangladesh. There happens to be, to use a higher, difficult, verbose word, there happens to be a kind of a pandemonium as far as Bangladesh is concerned. Because India, at least common citizens like us in India, we are not aware of the fact that who is calling the political and military shots in Dhaka or in Bangladesh. We do not know. There happens to be a condition of utter strategic confusion and domestic perplexity that Indian government has to sort it out somewhere. But I personally feel that the Gen Z, which was also party to the change in regime which occurred in Bangladesh when Sheikh Hasina was removed from the seat of power, that also seems to be quite misdirected. And sometimes now they have also started, in the last couple of months, their own protestations against Muhammad Yunus and against the interim government. So, which political party do they belong to? What is their actual ideological tilt? And what do they exactly want is not clear. Though it is very much clear to us that an anti-India, and I would say an anti-secular ethos, was initiated in Bangladesh long time back when certain prerogatives or certain incentives which were declared by Sheikh Hasina to be given to the flock of the 1971 liberators, that was militated against by this Gen Z. So, I would not call it as a kind of only a dissent movement or a freedom of expression movement as it occurred in India, in New Delhi, in a few universities, or in Nepal or in Sri Lanka, but some kind of a intransigent and an insidious hand is also involved as far as the instability and the one-uppance of the fundamentalist elements in Pakistan are concerned. That is how I would look at it, ma'am.
Absolutely. So please do stay on with us. We have some more breaking news coming in. The former Bangladesh Home Minister